I've enjoyed retrofitting every character so far. It's been a lot of work, but man, is it definitely worth it in the end. They get some serious boosts and actually just in general become way better as a ship. That said, what the heck did they feed you to? The only reason I'm asking is because I'm sure there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of characters, not just in Azur Lane, but in almost every single anime that I know in existence that would probably like to know the answer to your, growth. Oh god, no, you stay away. No, back. It's time for another duel from the IJN. This time we're looking at the common ships Furutaka and her sister Kako. Commons are generally pretty easy to obtain, and in most cases don't really amount to much. So how does the laid-back and sleepy Furutaka and her strict sister Kako hold up with the common stereotype? Well, let's dive into the numbers. Just like our last sister duo Atago and Takao, Furutaka and Kako are exactly identical in stats. Commons are a bit inferior stat-wise than the other rarities of their ship class, so make sure you note this beforehand. Both have a decent 3k health pool and also have medium armor to help them not be so frail like other ships of their class. Their firepower is unfortunately a little bit lower than some common heavy cruisers, however they do trade that off with a bit better reload than those same guys. Both of them also have torpedo capability, which is a bit on the low side as well. They might have an alternate attack with torpedoes, but the overall damage of those torpedoes won't be really anything amazing. Something I should start mentioning now is that with their limit breaks, they do gain boosts to their efficiencies, as well as, well, having a torpedo preloaded and ready to go at the beginning of each fight. Being able to fire torpedoes right off the get-go is nice, but unfortunately for most torpedo cruisers, or at least heavy cruisers, they won't have a huge effect in the battlefield. Moving on to their skills, they both have the same skill, Full Firepower, which increases their own firepower by up to 40% for 10 seconds. This is a pretty nice boost to their damage, but keep in mind that the skill only does have a 60% chance to proc every 20 seconds. Nonetheless, this skill really does help give them the extra push they need to contribute to a fight, as 40% really is a considerable boost in firepower. And with a decent proc chance, you're likely to see this skill proc at a much better rate than the RNG skills we've touched on so far. At first glance, their stat line and skills are really not that amazing. But once again, this is something that's best compared with other common cruisers. Sure, we could look at them in comparison with other cruisers of different rarities, but it would make sense that those higher rarity cruisers would do way better. Now, if you've followed all of my videos thus far, then you could probably say that these two feel relatively close to Takao. Of course, Takao should be able to outclass them, but there is one thing that is worth noting still. Furutaka and Kako aren't done yet, as they both still have a retrofit for them. Now, if you're on the fence about whether or not you should retrofit the two of them, I'd say you should consider it. And no, it's not because their thickness gets retrofitted. Come on, guys. With their retrofit, both Furutaka and Kako gain boosts to their stats that drastically matter for a ship of their class: health, firepower, and torpedo. Well, maybe not torpedo so much, but still. These boosts to their stats allow them to outclass every common cruiser that currently exists, and actually allows them to compete with other rarities. On top of these boosts, they also gain an additional skill called Chain Torpedo, which gives them up to 30% chance to launch a second wave of torpedoes after firing off their first wave. With this skill and their obvious first one, they are very close to Takao in terms of skills. So let's go ahead and revisit our super rare ship girl. Even with the retrofit, Takao still does beat them stat-wise. Furutaka and Kako do have the advantage of a better damage skill, as the proc chance is a lot better than Takao's. But the real question is, would it be worth using them, or even retrofitting them? Would it be useful to raise them even if you have Takao? Honestly, yes. If you're looking for a way to minimize and maximize your firepower with oil cost, then these two are ships you should be considering. If you're willing to accept the trade-off of 500 health and about 20 firepower from Takao, you'll be able to save about 3 oil per engagement, and that does stack up over time. So when it comes down to it, whether you use Furutaka or Kako over Takao depends on how efficient with your oil you want to be. Lastly, let's dive into whether or not They are better as a mob fleet or a boss fleet vanguard. Once again, I don't really see a problem with really them being in either fleet. Personally, I don't use them in boss fleets as I'm worried about their, well, lower health with already low evasion. However, I cannot deny that they would do considerable damage as their skills do have decent proc chances as well as overall good boosts. Just keep in mind that they might need some healing more. With mob fleets, I think they'd fit perfectly right in. Their buff stats from their retrofit allow them to contribute significantly to the fight, especially with the skills that they have. Their lower health pool might be a bit of a concern, but if you're running any healer ships, then this won't be much of a concern at all. Their low oil cost would also help to keep the cost per engagement relatively low. Overall, Furutaka and Kako start off a bit lackluster, but they are a very good example of a late bloomer. Both of them are okay or decent at the start, but if given the time to level and develop them, they can become quite powerful with the time and resources that are invested into them. While they certainly aren't the best of their ship class, they are very much worth leveling up, and I highly suggest retrofitting them to get the most out of them. Despite being a common, I honestly believe it is worth giving the time for them. Who knows, they might actually become one of your Oath characters as well. I know I'm still considering Furutaka. And that will be all for these two lovely little commons. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it will help you in your future endeavors. As usual, the list continues to grow and shrink as more and more characters are worked on. Here's the list for reference. If you see a character that I have not done or is not listed here, feel free to comment them below and I'll work on them in due time. Next up is Akashi. Oh, God, I have to cover the cat. The store cat. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video or live stream that I do. I feel like I'm missing something in this video for some reason. Oh, you have got to be